Don't believe everything you think. For years, I believed everything my mind told me. If a thought said you're not good enough, I accepted it. If it said they don't like you, I believed it. If it whispered, you'll never make it, I nodded in agreement. My mind was a constant narrator. Talking, judging, comparing. And I trusted it completely. As if it were the voice of truth itself. One morning, I sat at a cafe, staring at my coffee. Watching the foam slowly disappear. I wasn't tired from work. I was tired from thinking. Thoughts rushed in like traffic. You should be more successful by now. You're wasting your time. Everyone else is ahead of you. I felt trapped inside my own head. Until something small happened. Something that changed me. I went to a coffee shop. The woman behind the counter smiled at me. She said, "Rough morning." I laughed a little. "Yeah," I said. "Just a lot on my mind." She smiled again and said softly, "Don't believe everything you think." I walked home with those words echoing in my mind. They hit harder than any advice or meditation ever had. Don't believe everything you think? What if she was right? What if these loud, exhausting thoughts weren't true? That night, I sat in silence and started to notice. One thought said, "You're alone." Another said, "You always mess things up." But this time, I didn't react. I just watched. Something strange happened when I stopped believing the thoughts. They began to lose their power. They were like actors performing a play. But I no longer believed the story. I realized my thoughts weren't the truth. They were just things I imagined. Sometimes helpful, sometimes cruel. But stories nonetheless. The next day, I tried an experiment. Each time a negative thought appeared, I said softly, "That's interesting." Not arguing, not resisting. Not agreeing, just noticing. Soon, those thoughts began to pass faster. It was as if my attention had been their fuel. And once I stopped feeding them, they faded away. I began to see how emotions followed the thoughts I believed. If I thought my coworker ignored me, I felt hurt. If I thought, she's just busy, I felt fine. Same event, different story, different world. One afternoon, a friend canceled dinner. The old me would have thought, she doesn't value me. But this time, I caught the thought mid-sentence. "That's just a thought, not the truth," I said and smiled. The pain vanished instantly. That's when I understood our suffering doesn't come from reality. It comes from believing the mind's version of reality. Your mind is a movie projector. It plays scenes from the past, worries about the future, and imagines what people think of you. But the screen isn't real. It's just light and shadow. The moment you realize that, you can step out of the theater and into real life. I used to think I needed to control my thoughts. To silence them, fix them, or meditate them away. But you don't silence the mind by force. You silence it through understanding. When you see thoughts as passing clouds, you don't need to fight the storm. You simply wait for it to pass, and it always does. I remember one night lying in bed, anxious about a presentation. My mind kept whispering, "You'll mess up. They'll judge you. You're not ready." I couldn't sleep. Then I tried something new. "Okay, mind, you can talk, but I'm not listening tonight." I imagined those thoughts floating by. Like subtitles in a movie. Words appearing, then fading away. Within minutes, I fell asleep peacefully. Not because the thoughts were gone, but because I stopped believing them. The mind is clever. It knows which words to use to pull you in. It sounds logical, emotional, urgent. It will say, "This one is different. This one you must believe." But it's never different. It's just thought dressed in emotion. When you start observing your thoughts, something beautiful happens. You realize there's space between you and your mind. In that space, there's peace. That peace has no words, No opinions, no fear. It simply is. When you live from that awareness, life becomes lighter. The little things that once made you angry no longer control you. You notice emotions, but you don't drown in them. You feel them, let them move through you. Then return to stillness. People tell me, Anna, I can't stop overthinking. It's just how I am. And I tell them, no, it's not who you are. It's what the mind does. The mind thinks. Just like the heart beats. It's not a problem until you mistake thoughts for truth. I once met a man who believed his partner was losing interest. He checked her phone, analyzed her words, and imagined problems that didn't really exist. I asked him, has she ever said that? He paused. No. Then who told you that? He looked down and said, my mind. We both laughed, not to make fun, but because we understood. We've all believed lies our minds made up. The most dangerous thoughts are the ones that feel true. The ones that say, I'll never change. I'm not lovable. It's too late for me. They sound convincing because you've heard them for so long. But they're still just thoughts. Echoes of old fears, not facts. Once you see that, the illusion breaks. You can look at a painful thought and say, I see you. That awareness dissolves it faster than effort ever could. Your thoughts are not enemies, they are signals. They show you where your fears live. When you meet them with awareness, they lose their sting. They stop being monsters and become mirrors. There's a simple truth I live by. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. You can't stop your mind from thinking. But you can stop believing what it says. Now, when my mind says, "You're not good enough," I smile and reply, "Thank you for sharing." Then I move on. Happiness isn't about fixing your thoughts or controlling your mind. It's about remembering who you are before the thoughts. That quiet awareness that observes everything. That's you. And that version of you is always calm. Always free. Always enough. When you live from that place, life doesn't need to be perfect to feel peaceful. You don't chase happiness anymore. You simply notice it was always here beneath the noise. One morning, I went back to that same coffee shop. The same woman smiled and asked, "How's your mind today?" I laughed. "Still thinking," I said. But I stopped believing it. She grinned and said, "Good, that's when life really starts." And she was right. Life doesn't begin when the mind is silent. It begins when you no longer believe it completely. The next time your mind says, "You're lost," look around, you're right here. When it whispers, "You'll never be happy," feel your heart, it's still beating. When fear arrives, smile softly. and remind yourself you're just a cloud passing by. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that watches them come and go. When you stop believing everything you think, you don't just find peace, you find yourself. If you've ever felt not enough, this next one will speak to you. Don't miss the gifts of imperfection. It's powerful.